Welcome to Comic Book Haul 69, part 52. Y'all, what's going on? That's right, this is a Karn. I think that shit is called Karn. This toy line that has been from the Dollar Tree that I found. Just found this now. This is pretty fucking cool, isn't it? Shift Specialist. So they had these different types of figures, but the reason I got this one is because they got a comic book, Final Faction, First Impact, #1, February 2022, first edition. So I've shown this off a few months ago. This little ditty that I got there. Never thought that I'd grab one of these things again. I just got that on a whim, but when I saw that I got these comics, I never saw these before at the Dollar Tree. Oh shit, really? It's good. I mean, it's all right, so it's like $1.25. Everything at the Dollar Tree is like $1.25 essentially. And what do we got here? The origin story. This looks cool. You know, pretty basic. Let's give credit where credit's due. It's go time. Script writer is Toby Osborne. Penciler inker, Chris Moorman. Just wanted to look at this really quick. The Decimator, that's this bad boy right here then. Nice. The story basically on the back is about how some meteorite hit the moon, which then unearthed some spaceship that had been hibernating beneath. And then all these different types of aliens attack Earth. And you got the last resort, Final Faction. One of the crew of the Final Faction is this lady right here, Shift. And they had her in the black and red, I think. So this is the gold edition. Now these swords, I'm hoping, I was afraid that they would have been stuck there just for looks. All right, you really got to get the peg here in the back, but in doing so, you kind of bend this sword holder, but I was able to bend it back. It's all good. For a toy, I think as long as the swords are out, her hair won't get in the way of the handles, and then you end up fucking with the swords in the back. And the peg falls out. But for a Dollar Tree deal, it's a pretty cool toy. Double swords, two-handed. First I was thinking she's Asian. Now I'm thinking maybe she's Latina. You tell me. And here's the artwork. It actually kind of reminds me of some Tom Scioli type work. Really. I like the look of these people. There's some action. You got like all these monsters that they're going up against. And we got some mock ads here. Professor Bizarro. Unlock your inner guru. Live your life without fear. Don't be scared of the unknown with bravery. Oh, there's just 20 scoops. Use them wisely. Got some comic book reviews, mainly like a trade paperback haul. Let's check it out. It is the 15th of February, Thursday. That's right, yesterday was that new comic book day. Besides this Final Faction from the Dollar Tree, it's the only other local shop buys that I've gotten. And this is a 0-issue Vision Comics. They did 5 issues of Odd Mausoleum. Before that, like a Vision Comics Presents, like a seasonal title. And then now they're starting over with Vision Comics. And there's a 0 special. Just each page is like a pin-up page where they're introducing artists. AC Canales, he's compiled stories that I've shown that of his that are in like the first 4 or 5 pages of these. And he compiled them into this story here, to his own comic. And that's kind of like what they're trying to do. It's just to have artists contribute to this anthology over at this local comic book shop in the Denver area so that they can eventually collect stuff on their own and publish them through Vision Comics, but it's all creator-owned stuff. So I just got this to promote local artists. This one's pretty dope. But they're all kick-ass images, each pin-up, promo, rag here. Artie Moose. Looks like she's got some cool shit. In this shop, this is all the brainchild of AC Canales. This is his comic here with Giselle and her sidekick, this like eyeball. But Chris Lanham, that's the shop owner. Right. All right, now, first up, the Essential Wolverine. This is such a fucking dope buy. They've got these discounts occasionally over at Vision Comics and Oddities, that local shop out here, Denver area. Buy 2 trade paperbacks, get 1 free. So this was part of that threesome. Essential Wolverine. I've never read an Essential before. I like that they're black and white. I love how they're in newsprint. Look at how that just, boom, that just like captures John Buscema's artwork. Wolverine's first appearance, that is, what, Herb Trimpe doing the art? 1974, and then you got Frank Miller in that 4-issue limited series in 1982. That was written by Chris Claremont, 1982. And then you got this first ongoing series of Wolverine. This Essential is so dope. I haven't read these since they first came out over at the direct market shops in the 80s. Welcome to my channel, by the way, Sequential Geek. My background is I read comics, collected them just mainly as like a Marvel zombie, got into some DC around like by like mid 80s until the late 80s, and I collected 79, 89, and then 2000, 2005, give or take a year, that whole Renaissance era, that Neo-Marvel era called NuMarvel, NuMarvel, and that little Renaissance era was short-lived, and then I just returned 2016 up until recently, finishing off huge just amount of spending, but just kind of like a bucket list that I've been working at the past like 7 years. And those 3 eras of my collecting, Copper Age is my main background, and I haven't read these since they first came out. And one of the things that's great is like how they just go over each individual issue, the writer, the artist. And it looks like we got Chris Claremont writing with John Buscema doing the art. Chris Claremont wrote up until issue 10, and that's just like a classic way to kick off the first ongoing series of this badass character. You know, with this origin story, like a flashback story. I think it's Silver Fox is who Sabretooth kills. Is that her name, right? But the illustrations in here are just amazing. Really reminds me too of Modesty Blaze when I was showing samples of that. That type of illustrative style. But this is John Buscema. Chris Claremont did the writing for the first 10 issues. And then as of like issue 11, you got Kevin Nowlan taking over. You can see that Kevin Nowlan look like in the eyes. And there's another Kevin Nowlan, issue 11. Kevin Nowlan doing issue 15. And these Wolverine issues, the last page would at least, this is up to 15. So issue 14 doesn't have it, but it looks like you have like a Wolverine gallery at the end, at the last page. Typically there'd be like this extra drawing here a Wolverine gallery, these pinup pages. And let me see if I can find something to peruse some of this John Buscema artwork while I look for a pinup, a Silver Samurai. Yeah, John Byrne. Fucking hot that woman is right there. I think, what is that? Madam Hydra, maybe? Not sure. Like I said, I haven't read these since this 1988 ongoing series came out. All right, so, you know, this is when he was Patch out in the Pacific, Southeast Asia. I think this is a Bill Sienkiewicz Wolverine. Kevin Nowlin. But after issue 10, looks like, I think Peter David took over the writing, and then John Buscema stayed on. Wow, Todd McFarlane. And this one for the Wolverine Gallery looks like it's issue number 6, in case you're interested. Awesome. All right, so we got Claremont Buscema, issue 7, and then John Byrne takes over with issue, I think, 17. This is artwork of John Buscema. Just wonder if it's inspired by this Peter O'Donnell strip. Ebony Blaze. It's like illustration by Romero, Enrique Badia Romero. Is this artist here for this spy story. Just this like super sexy, capable, intelligent, initially a war refugee that wandered around the Mediterranean area and was taken in by this Jewish-Hungarian genius professor in North Africa. And then he was left to recover someplace, possibly left to die, not sure, but she ends up taking over this crime syndicate in Tangier, Morocco. But I digress. Just some really cool design artwork. I wonder if she was like an inspiration for Spider-Woman as well. That Jessica Drew Spider-Woman. But anyway, this artwork, just comparing it, it's like illustrative style of John Buscema. And now issue 17, Wolverine, John Byrne. Love this cover. It's with that bright red background. But yeah, man, I'll leave the rest up to y'all's imagination. Yeah, pretty captivating. These early Logan Wolverine issues back in the day when I was a teenager, when Wolverine was the shit, when Wolverine was the danger. Now, right back here at the end, look at that. All right, John Byrne, all right. Now, back in the end here, we got a reprint out of the official handbook of the Marvel Universe, which ran from January 1983 till December 1983. And then they had some follow-up issues, 2 more, that John Byrne did the artwork on, mainly like the covers. And then the last one, like all the gadgets and stuff. But this image right here for Wolverine, I don't think this was the one in the official handbook of the Marvel Universe. I thought they used the John Byrne image. This is a really dope, badass Paul Smith. That real sharp image there of Logan. Definitely looking a little bit more edgier. I would definitely say this would be in a brown suit. Anyway, whatever. This is Frank Miller down there. And then you have some images. John Byrne, I think. Frank Miller. Now, this is from the 15th issue of the official handbook of the Marvel Universe. Around like March or April of '84 was the cover date, but this John Byrne image where they bisect, his anatomy, and it does specify right here, adamantium prosthetic is my point. Initially, his claws were bionic implants. And just wanted to point out, because I love this type of stuff. It says here, neither when they are in use or when they are not do the claws lie partially within Wolverine's wrists. Therefore, he can always bend his wrist. However, he must keep his wrist straight at the moment the claws shoot from beneath his forearm. I love those little details, right? Another name, though, that I would like to note is right here, Dr. Myron McLean. I wonder if he's related to John McLean. Through unknown means, strips of adamantium were fused to Wolverine's skeleton. Adamantium is an artificial alloy developed by Dr. Myron McLean and is the hardest metal known to science. See Captain America Ultron. It can be cut with a special subatomic particle beam. Otherwise, to all intents and purposes, adamantium is virtually indestructible. Can you dig it? Apparently, at the same time that the adamantium was bonded to his skeleton, Wolverine was also equipped with solid adamantium claws. Quote, claws, unquote. The claws are each roughly a foot long, the length of Wolverine's forearm. He is equipped with 3 claws on each of his arms. The claws are connected directly to his skeleton and to his nervous system. I like the idea of one of the common, what do you want to call it, traits, tropes of Marvel was that combination of superpowers with technology, whether it's just Captain America and the super serum and his shield, or if it's Spider-Man and the web shooters. He carries around his camera as well, right? But Wolverine and his claws being implants, being just furthering just something that could be considered really mundane and boring. Hey, somebody can heal. All right, so they got some also heightened senses. But then to throw in the whole skeleton being bonded with adamantium, and then on top of that, just to add some further coolness, some swords implanted into both of his forearms. It's fucking dope. So looking forward to rereading this, hitting up some memory lane back in the days when Wolverine had edge. All right, yo, check this out. So this is pretty sweet. I'm really psyched to read this. This is another comic from Copper Age from the 80s. This is Swamp Thing, Saga of the Swamp Thing 21 to 27. This was my tail end of buying comics on the reg, the first era of my collecting during the Copper Age. First appearance of Swamp Thing, House of Secrets, number 92 in July 1971. And then in 1972, he had an ongoing series for like 4 years. And then in 82 to 85, you have the return of his series called Saga of the Swamp Thing. And then the name eventually changed back to Swamp Thing. But that's when it was, I think, under the Vertigo name, when it went from DC Comics to Vertigo. Your more mature comics reader theme label. So that brand Vertigo was later, I'm pretty sure. So these issues, I think when they were initially published, 21 through 27, I think they were just DC at the time. Correct me if I'm wrong. The artwork is just outstanding. I was really being pushed to my limits. I think that Bill Sienkiewicz on New Mutants, and then this John Toddleben, Steve Bissette combination of artwork on Alan Moore's Swamp Thing just fucking was, for me, like being like used to the whole superhero thing was just like a mind fuck for me. I wasn't used to it. I read them. I wasn't enthused about getting into them. I wasn't just enthused about how comics were going in general, and this was different. I definitely dug the horror aspect up to it, but I didn't just. I think it wasn't mature enough for it, honestly. By in the late '80s, I've read parts of these before. I think the last time I did a Swamp Thing review was the Quest for Elementals. Those had some great Ian Miller covers too, but those were a little bit later down the line, and that Quest for the Elementals storyline was about just the history of the mythology behind the green and people that were Swamp Thing before. But this was before that, these Alan Moore stories, and I'm just looking forward to get into some Copper Age goodness. And I wanted to add something to my library that is something that I can reread and is classic, iconic. And, you know, classic and iconic, when I keep saying those things, like timeless in a sense too, you know, these are stories that you're like, you know, the whole collectible hobby, it's got a long ways to go, because when you look at what people value and spend their money on, I think that there is a premium that people are starting to spend. Honestly, these back issues they're not just dollar books, but they often are, though, still. It's fun to figure it out as you go along, and you know, things that might seem deep, it's just because you might be unfamiliar with it. I think that Alan Moore has this rap as being this so complicated or deep or higher than thou rep that he turns off people for getting into it. And I mean, here's Etrigan, another part of the DC universe. I'm not really too familiar with DC, but this looks like fun, and it's fun to mention my take on why I've got this, and you know, things that are iconic, classic, timeless. I still think that something of this caliber, you know, affecting how comics are written, affecting other ways comics can be marketed, thanks to Alan Moore. I think it's kind of a big deal that is being overlooked by a lot of the collecting hobby. So let me know of any other titles that you think are overlooked, that are underestimated from the Copper Age, that you think people one day will end up paying a premium for, just out of taste. Just your sense of character and collecting has become more diversified. The demographic would have to grow for that, right? So look at that. Amazing. So the artists are Steve Bissett, John Tottleman, Erie, Pennsylvania. That's where that guy's from. Didn't know that. One of them is from the States. Here's another Brit, Warren Ellis, Derek Robertson doing the art. Now this, I've shown this off before for my summer reading. I think a couple of these will be reiterated from a haul from last year, but I never went through these, and I don't think that to that in depth, too much that was too in depth. But this Warren Ellis story, this is the first graphic novel, you know, a little quick intro to Transmetropolitan. And this fucking character, Spider Jerusalem, this whole comic book is way ahead of its time. Guess, what year did this comic book come out? It's 1997, right? Another Vertigo Comics gem, Karen Berger, the EIC, pushing a lot of this type of creativity. And what's the deal with Derek Robertson and doing the pencils to this Warren Ellis story? You've got themes in here that I just want to mention real quick. By the way, if you're looking for appearances of creators that are being put into comics, like some people like to collect Jack Kirby appearances, here's an Alan Moore appearance. They wrote Alan Moore here. Cuts all his hair off, becomes Spider Jerusalem. He's in the middle of nowhere. But my point is there's a lot of tropes, themes to just this first story arc, introducing Spider Jerusalem, this journalist. That's your hero here. That's your protagonist, an intellectual protagonist hero here. Really cool. One of the tropes, a lot that's being brought up here, is way ahead of its time. This guy is a blogger. He is writing articles that are affecting politics. He is in this futuristic city where people are constantly taking pills. There's references to being medicated, and he's just constantly self-medicating, and that mixture of just technology and how it's affecting people's lives, and a lot of the hardships and complaints that people have today about living in the early 21st century former USA or former nation state, the era of pharmaceuticals. You've got now people in here who are, yeah, look at him. He just did this electric, I don't know, static deal here, cleaned him up. But you got these people that are altering their DNA, taking drugs and messing with their DNA with gene therapy, becoming part alien, because these actual ETs are selling their DNA on the black market to these people that then are using the sanctioned status of these extraterrestrials on Earth to then become sanctioned themselves, to then have their own little country. And does that sound familiar? People that are changing their bodies, using drugs to change their bodies, their sense of self, their sense of identity, right? And then they're wanting to cordon off space to have a no police zone, right? He's pretty badass guy here. And this guy's like telling him to fuck off and to get out of their little aliens only zone, no police zone. And he's a blogger, and this three-eyed cat fucking smoking. Not to give too much of it away, might as well, just to introduce this Warren Ellis, Derek Robinson story. And here he is. Walks through this strip bar to get to the roof of their building, and they're like, "What the hell are you doing?" And he's like, I'm writing. He's like, I'm writing. He's like, I'm fucking affecting the shit that's going on here. And Derek Robertson, I think, illustrates himself as the editor for this spoof off of Alan Moore, Spider Jerusalem. So that's Transmet, another alternative to the big two. And now there were some changes that were going on. This NuMarvel era, going from the Copper Age actually to like 2000, 2005. There was a renaissance going on with comic books. A lot of the people leading the way were the people like Karen Berger. Then you had this new management over at Marvel with this triad that they didn't all get along, with Buckley doing the publishing, I think, and Alan Fine was president maybe, and Joe Quesada just got hired on to do the editor-in-chief with Bill Jamaas was president, right? So they had a little synergy that was going on from like 2000, 2003, 2004. Over at Vertigo again, you got 100 Bullets. And one of the things I wanted to mention, though, is a lot of these changes that were going on. Another one of the tropes with this Renaissance era, this NuMarvel era, was the stories about people that had a lot of centralization going on. I mean, in 1995, the General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade became the World Trade Organization. You had the WTO protests around 99, right? And just globalization, that whole theme was taking shape as everybody was told how the internet was going to save their lives, make everything better. And I'm trying not to comment on that so bad. So, because it was bullshit, it's evil. So the Brian Azzarello, Eduardo Risso story here is about a crime family, a group of crime families, 13 of them, that run the world. And the 100 Bullets is really, you've got this guy, Graves, who was retired. He used to run the militia, these Minutemen. They were hitmen. And some of them were like hypnotized. So they were like sleeper cell hitmen, that if you said a code word, Croatoa, it would wake them up. Some of them were retired that way, or some of them were slept that way so that they could be woken up to do their job, to keep the other families in line, the other 13 families in line. Art is by Eduardo Risso. Every single issue ran for 100 issues, and this came out around the same time as my next story that was from Wildstorm, Planetary. And we got a theme going on here of just like people running the earth, people wanting to, or stories that are encompassing global dominion, some type of global organization, some type of secret organization, people that are running their shit. And these hitmen that were supposed to keep everybody in line, this one guy that used to keep the hitmen in line, ran them, the Minutemen, he wants to do his own thing and start his own thing. So he starts waking up some hitmen, you eventually find this out, to take over some other families and kind of do his own control, his own power move. And then the current guy that runs the hitmen gets involved, obviously. But the Eduardo Risso artwork, that mixture of silhouettes, even though there's not anything going on in the background, you're not left feeling that you were cut short with any of these stories. There's lots of play on words and irony that Eduardo Risso gets to illustrate, along with the script that Brian Azzarello likes to add a lot of like puns and just like kind of people that might be talking about one thing and turns the wording on you because certain people are doing power moves or playing each other off with these families, these 13 rich families that are from like all over the world, essentially. I think this one's Italian here. They're all from different backgrounds. So you've got these super sophisticated upper echelon 13 families, but then you also have these hitmen that are from maybe a lower class and they're sleeper cell, or you have these rich people here that are interacting just with regular people from the hood, and he gets caught in the crossfire in this particular story. Kind of dark, but filled with lots of irony, kind of like maybe like a Twilight Zone-esque type of style of storytelling often, but there is an end goal, and I did give you kind of like a overarching story arc that encompasses 100 issues. So if you like that type of hitman, spy, noir, like crime family drama, check out 100 Bullets. It's from that turn of century. And then, to move that theme forward, Warren Ellis, right? This guy, he also did Global Frequency. I showed this. This is like a private global organization. Ran around 2002 for 12 issues, an artist for each issue. Really cool. I showed this off previously, but another theme, ultimates. They first used that term in this story of persons of mass destruction, that they took a role in world events, taking some actions in the Middle East. And then you also had in Marvel, S.H.I.E.L.D. was becoming more of a dominant theme, dominant decision maker in a lot of people's lives in Marvel. Just really bullshit. S.H.I.E.L.D. has too much interaction, but once again, it's that theme of things starting to be centralized at the turn of the century. One of the common themes with these Renaissance era comics, liking to point out, because that's how I be. Planetary, issue 1. Planetary ran for 27 issues. December 2009 was the last one. I think it was April 1999 was the first. And yeah, I just got to get one more of the trade. There's a total of 4 altogether. Superhero archaeologists, I forgot what they called themselves. Some type of like archaeologists of the unknown, and you got these 4 main characters. Elijah Snow, who's replacing this other character. I think it's like an Elijah Snow from another dimension. The drummer, who's good with math, and then Chiquita, who's like super fast and strong and smart, and has like hella leadership skills. And it's those 3 that are encountering tropes throughout our century. You have people that represent the pulp heroes, people that represent the golden age, Fantastic Four type characters that represent the Silver Age. And I think they're like villains, actually. But, there's like a Doc Samson type character, and he is trying to do this investigation. Once again, kind of like organized crime, some of these groups are. Because a lot of these people, I think it's like a sense of time, like with that American God story by Neil Gaiman. In that sense of like people that represent eras. And I think that they know, or some of them know, that their existence is being threatened. I gotta read this again. I haven't read this in 20 years. Yeah. So looking forward to checking out Planetary. There is somebody that had gone missing in their group. I think it was the other Elijah Snow that is also one of the subplots that they're looking for. And like I said, you know, they're playing with a lot of tropes that are representative of eras, like I said with the pulp world, or with you know, here's Dracula, like the era of monsters, like that Universal Monsters. Amazing artwork by John Cassaday. I gotta stress, John Cassaday around this same time also did that John Ray Niebuhr story of Captain America when he revealed his identity. That was when John Cassaday did the artwork on that. That's another trope throughout that era, 2000, 2005, the lack of having a private identity. Class War is another set of stories that came out around this Renaissance era, NuMarvel era, 2000, 2005, Class War. A lot of people that are also taking on private organizations, taking on global regimes, the old school regimes, the orthodox regimes, to do their own thing, like the comic book series, The Authority. Also, I think Grant Morrison's Justice League might have been like that. But Grant Morrison's new X-Men story went global for a minute. But yeah, Planetary, The Authority, Ultimates, Shield. Looking forward to Planetary. If anybody's new to comics, but you want to kind of dip your toe in that superhero genre, definitely check out Planetary. Covers all the genres throughout the 20th century. Speaking of those old school monsters, Universal Monsters becoming Frankenstein, this artist on this, Frank Sirocco, he's the co-creator of Alien Legion. As a matter of fact, I didn't know that. He was the artist on the first 6 issues of Alien Legion. Then he did the covers of 7 through 20. The first volume of Alien Legion was from 84 to 87. It's 20 issues. And then this artist here, Frank Sirocco, just did the covers for the second volume of Alien Legion. Ran for 18 issues. But he's a co-creator with Carl Potts and Zelenetz. Alan Zelenetz, I think, were the 2 writers. And Carl Potts, you know, he's still been in works for getting Alien Legion to become a movie. 2023, the rights were picked up by Warner Brothers for Alien Legion, FYI. So we got a co-creator of Alien Legion doing the artwork on this Becoming Frankenstein story that is really about Victor Frankenstein. And, you know, here he is, he's getting picked on. Now look at the artwork here on the face. This type of artwork I'm not too crazy about. Very simple, you know, eyes, and it's not the end of the world. I think overall, this was above average artwork. Lots of depiction of architecture, by the way. Tanner colors for these flashbacks, but I was just talking about the turn of the century, leading up to 1800, like when you had anything from Darwinism about how to become a better person, Freud, a lot of themes that were going on, you know, Nietzsche, just about becoming, advancing the human race, advancing mankind. So I'm sure there's some theme with that, with Mr. Sinister, with Marvel, by the way, that would be a great opportunity for them to use Mr. Sinister in this era. But this guy, you know, with electricity, Victor von Frankenstein, here he is animating this mouse. So, and then we're back into 1800 to the creature now, to the monster that was made. And as the story progresses, you've got the year 1800, and then you start going back to how Victor von Frankenstein was brought in from Geneva and to Ingolstadt, Germany, Bavaria, and at a circus he saw this guy. They don't call him Igor, though. Deformed Romanian known as Dragos, abandoned at birth. But he takes him in, and there's politics between Victor von Frankenstein and this real violent baron, and nobody is good in these stories at the end of the day. Victor von Frankenstein is this, I guess, narcissist that is extremely self-indulgent. He is very much self-aggrandizing and is looking only for samples to create his monster, his creation, to advance mankind. And then you have the Illuminati that actually find out about it, and they want him to pursue. They want this baron to enable him, but this baron is against him. And you've got some dramas that occur, but a lot of it is just like show, speak, image, draw from next event to the next. How do I put this? I'm not feeling suspense. I'm not feeling a lot of care for this guy. I'm not feeling like, oh, okay, I'm frustrated because, you know, it sucks that he's getting picked on when he's trying to do his studies by these people at the bar. But then, you know, it's too bad that he wants to take advantage of people, and he has these people get killed, and then he has their bodies be taken to his lab. He even frees this guy from the Dragos, from the cage here, because he was being treated like a circus act. It's the guy that becomes Igor. But then the artwork with the faces, it seems like it changes up, like it improves now and then. You know, really nice imagery here. But is this then done with a computer? Is that the type of factor that I have to start considering after the review that I saw by EVS, Ethan Van Sciver of ISOM, pointing out a lot of techniques that people can use now with computers? So is Sirocco, this co-creator of Alien Legion, Frank Sirocco, is he just doing like these base illustrations and then they got just now a program that they can put the background there? I don't know. These drawings here of the home, for example, all of this looks complete and it looks really nice. He's reminiscing here on this page about, there he is. He's going off into the springtime, to the fields here, going for a walk, to create a new race of beings, unblemished and resolute as ever we were before leaving Eden. If paradise could be regained, surely God himself would look down on us and smile. Lots of references to religion, to God, which is fine. I mean, it's all done in, you know, good taste within the mentality being perpetuated by this character. You know, he's using God to affirm his murders. They don't go into detail with the murders. They don't go into detail with how he's taking people apart and stuff. Here, this gypsy's talking about just monsters throughout history. We have the golem, zombies, vampires. She's referring to werewolves. Although they pay tribute to all of these classic monsters, it seems like there could have been some more opportunities for characterization to insert Victor von Frankenstein's twisted mind instead of just him. Once again, show, do, tell. Okay, they're showing, they're telling, he's listening, and then he goes on, he does things. They show and people do. Once again, you know, you have some cool images here, and the B covers for these Becoming Frankenstein comics were pretty sick, I gotta say. But the story itself is okay. It's an okay read. Did I find it to be great? Once again, I just thought it was okay. For such artwork, I really want to love this story. But I think I like the artwork a lot more than the retelling of Victor von Frankenstein and his monster. Yeah. And it ends with him in this insane asylum. Victor von Frankenstein staring at a picture of his mom. What the fuck? Oh yeah, and the creature ends up on a boat heading off to the Indies. On a scale of 1 to 5, 3, 3. Yeah, there's a lot going on, and seems like a missed opportunity. And this comic right here, this trade paperback from Holy Cow, this was given to me as a freebie. I've got an email from Vivek Goel. He runs Holy Cow Comics, and they had sent me half my order from India, and then when they sent me the rest, he threw this in. He is an artist, writer, Vivek Goel. Last time I checked, he was running Holy Cow Comics out of India, and these stories, they're all based on Indian mythos, which is completely foreign to me, and I really enjoyed this. I like entering something that I'm not familiar with. And the skull rosary is, I think this is Vishnu, and each head is a story. And all of these people pretty much deserve what they get. You've got 5 stories here, 5 heads. And a lot of these are stories kind of like with the Greek mythos, where you have the gods have their own egos. And I think one of these stories here, the gods were not content that everything was peaceful. So they started some shit with these humans that had to do with, like, you know, people seeking revenge, or, you know, somebody stealing somebody else's lover, or being jealous of somebody else's queen. And kind of like, you know, with Troy, Helen of Troy, right? So there are a lot of, people being used as avatars for gods. Gods that use humans or other things of their creations that they use to deal with humans. This story is fucking crazy. Prahlad's dream. This kid, his father is against him, his own kid, for worshiping Vishnu, I believe. And so Vishnu sends this god, this lion dude, to attack his father. And his father is immortal, cannot be hurt by any god or demigod, by any being. And this thing is not a god or a demigod. It's just something else that Vishnu created. And it kills this dude. A lot of these stories are pretty fucking bloody. I gotta say, it's kind of like an Indian version of Outlaw comics in a sense of, like, acts of revenge. People going on revenge. Beefing people, just like going after other people's families, destroying other people's families, and because they either defiled the gods, they did something where, just almost like in Greek tragedies, where somebody compares themselves to a god. They have that sense of vanity where they think that they could take on a god, and then there's consequences. But this deal right here is crazy, because this creature that takes on and destroys this guy, it actually doesn't stop. It wants to keep killing. This kid keeps having dreams about it, and this being is so powerful that this kid ends up going to praying to Vishnu, who, or at this point, is it Brahman, the head god, who then creates, he sends this forearm dude after him. That doesn't work. So then they go to Shiva, and Shiva then creates this other god, Shiva. I don't know, I'm learning. Creates this other god that is just like parts of these other animals. And then they fight, but they just don't fight. They fight on a cosmic scale where they're throwing moons and planets. And this being, because it's created by Shiva, when this enemy, this evil dude, throws a sun, he's like, well, wait a second, I'm created of fire. The sun feeds life, not death. I am a being of light. It will not harm me. Though I can't say the same about you. Naramasa is destroyed and brought back as like Naramasa of the light or something like that. So it's, you know, kind of like Icarus type stories. But I think Vivek Goel does the art on the first 2. Yeah, and then the last one, he does the inks. But it's stories along that line. And I mean, you got people, there's some cannibalism going on in here. It's kind of graphic. Very cool, though. This story right here is pretty fucking crazy. This first one about this kid who had pulled his eyes out and ran around without eyes for like 1,000,000 years. His father was killed by Vishnu, and he was supposed to inherit his father's empire. Lost his mind, I think. Here's Brahman with all his faces. Something about how he has to eat 1,000,000 eyes, and he'll be indestructible. And he'll only die when he lusts for a woman that reminds him of his mom. Is this catch of his immortality. And he's going after, committing all these acts of revenge. Eating these eyeballs. He says something like how he has like, he's only eaten 5,000 something and he has to eat up to like 1,000,000. He ends up trying to attack some gods. He gets out of hand and check that image out. This is the god Chani. He calls to Chani, the mistress of time, always hungry for blood. She stabs this guy in the eye and in like the throat, lifts him up. She drinks his blood. Vishnu wakes him up, opens up his third eye. Our third eye opened to save the worlds from total destruction. You were born of that nothing that created everything. Your eyes had no vision but true vision. Your deformed body was created from the sweat and that fell off our forehead when we felt desire for Pravti. Pravti is your birth mother. So when you desired to have her, you desired your destruction. It says here, as the Trishula of truth pierces my eyes, with my blood and sight gushes out my arrogance and pride. He is that first head, that first story. And so I become Adhak again, that kid again, that prince, a newborn son to Lord Shiva, his servant, and Ghana. Interesting. Totally unique trade paperback hair skull rosary out of Holy Cow Press from India. And last up is this gem. And next up, I cannot resist this comic. I just got to go through this. Theth, Tomorrow Forever, Josh Bear. I showed this when I bought this. This is out of Tinto Press. This guy, Josh Bear, he's being printed by the comic book Stone Church Press. All right, so I showed Ain't It Fun, right? This is by Stone Church Press, right? Stone Church Press. This guy, Aaron Lang, him and his friend started that Stone Church Press company out of Cleveland, Ohio, and another Ohio native is Josh Breyer. I've shown this book off before. Josh Breyer, he's been published by Floating World Comics, I think, and then now Stone Church Press out of Ohio, just pushing this new comic book company. This is Tinto Press, though. Josh Breyer's got this really unique style. It's super fucking cool. It's just his own deal. Let me know what you think of it. And what is this comic book? This is a comic book about making comics. The protagonist of the story has a class assignment. Check this artwork out. This is 2019. And I swear, like reading this, I would have thought that this would have been written during the pandemic, actually. Some senses of isolation, but really, I think a lot of it is like that creative struggle. There's a lot of stories, anecdotes, parts of this that are about the creative process, about buckling down and making sacrifices and putting up with a lot of shit from people that don't know what it's like to go through this, giving you your opinion and not being sure about your style, whether people are going to take it. He has comments in here, this artist, where he's like, he's not breaking the fourth wall, but it's this, you get this actualization about how he's aware of his style. It is different. It is not easy on the eyes and is not designed for any type of brand identity from Marvel or DC, whatever, you know what I mean? It's different. It's his own way of doing sequential. So page 24. This takes place in Columbus, Ohio. Theft tomorrow forever in the winter. And also some references to being punk rock, enjoying punk rock, but what it means to be punk rock. How you're not supposed to point it out. A reference to Black Star, that is Josh Brayer's comic book. But this guy like finds it at the comic book shop and he's bitching about superhero comics and he sees this, which is like his own comic. He's looking at his own artwork. He's just like blown away by it. So what's he do with it? He steals it. Another comic book where not everybody's best considerate person, but Columbus, Ohio, 1991. That's where our hero is. Check that out. There's his head. This is the music that he's listening to, visualizing it. He doesn't have enough money to pay for his heat. Is a starving artist suffering for his work. The motivation. This is another thing. One of the payoffs with this is there's a lot of work that you hear of people just talking about doing stuff, or they have stories about how they want to do stuff, and you just meet people in general too who say that they're creatives or they're artists and they don't do anything. He's like, I get so cold in here. It's like all the walls close in, wrestle me to all fours. Look at this book. It's so weird. It's so ugly. I could do something weird too. I should sit at my desk and work. Right here in my place, I could do something. I could just get so cold in here. I will do it after I lay here for a while. Here he is at art class. All of you have potential, some more, less than others. When the rhythm becomes predictable and commonplace, you failed. Always resist the artistic trap of complacency. A rhythm based on size, on spacing, on variety, on shape, on length. Just as the shapes on the page must demonstrate a diversity, also we must consider diversity in absence. An artist considers variety with the gaps between the form. Yes, the missing space is important. Some call it negative space. He has adversity, right? He's got people calling him up and he's asking for money. People telling him that he doesn't know what he's doing. That he needs to give up and get a real job. That's some of the adversity that he's facing. A lot of talk about the creative process. What am I doing? It's like I need to 3 arms to hold this many pages. He's talking about how he just creates some artwork. He doesn't really have a timeline set up. If anyone knew how much I want to murder, how much I want to destroy, the vision I have inside. The kids I went to school with, they'd be saying, that kid Theth. I had no idea he was such a death machine. On the horizon, a death machine. A man of action, of tension. He wants to kill. He needs to kill. He's a maniac. This is his comic book, Theth. Do something different. Try something different. The only thing I have is being punk, except no one knows I'm punk. Anyways, you can't call yourself punk. Someone has to do it for you. Here is Theth. I am a member of no club. Addicted to nothing, they call me Theth. Check out that artwork. Some abstract images going on. Morphing. And there's like this guy, another adversity. This guy's like, what am I looking at? He's like at this diner and he's getting all this advice. This guy's now telling him what to do. All these fucked up, disgusting killing machines, dripping blood with every move, shaking and standing. He says, this guy who was looking at his artwork at the diner, he says, it's kind of, and I don't, a person's thoughts should be more organized. How do you make ideas like that clear to people, like me, who don't already know what's going on here? He says, because I have to, because I'm committed, because I believe. Just a lot of these, I don't know, it's not about thinking positive. It's not about how you say stuff. It's just doing it. Once it's in context, it'll make more sense. He's like, how will you achieve this? Like I said, I will because I have to. And he's like, that's no plan. I don't know. I mean, I just look at that as like this unnecessary, I don't know, criticism in a sense, but this guy's caring. He wants to make sure that this guy has a place to stay and all, but I just look at that as one of the forms of adversity that this guy has to deal with. Here he is on the phone. Some friend of his saying, just take inventory, take stock of yourself. I mean, he's like, what are you doing in that place? Seems like you're not doing anything to improve things for yourself. It's just this criticism that we get from people at times that he's just trying to deal with it. Excellent imagery, very unique. I don't find that he's trying to do all these sketches and stuff because he's trying to compensate for not being able to do something like it's some type of hack job. One of the last people that he's interested in that's kind of like this adversity is this girl that he's interested in. I won't tell how it goes, but a lot of these themes are just sort of like be aware of how you spend your time with people and committing to your goals, which the payoff that I'm getting at is that this guy commits to his goals. He's doing it. He's creating things. And there's some sacrifice and work ethic that's being portrayed here. I thought it was really dope. And the references to punk rock and just these wild images. If y'all get a chance to check out this Tinno Press book by Josh Breyer, Theth, Tomorrow Forever. And that's it. That's my comic book haul, y'all. One heck of a trade paperback haul. Let's not forget this Dollar Tree Final Faction First Impact. Thanks a lot for watching Comic Book Haul, a 69 part of 52. Much love. Thanks for watching. Keep on reading. Keep on collecting. Peace.